something that sort of organically just came out?
Well, the novel that I'm currently working on now is sort of exploring certain social issues that I've always found so difficult to comprehend my brain around. There are things that I've read about, and I just feel like this is so wrong. How do you make sense of this? And I'm big on social issues. Yes, your question, yes, I'd love to write more about it. I'd love to, I mean, for me, writing is also a key to understanding things, right? I think the more I write, the more I sort of understand the nature of the issue. So, yes, I'd love to write more about certain things that I feel should be talked about more and should not be just, we as a society should just act like, oh, this is not important. There are other things more important.
Okay, just wait and see what develops. You left us hanging, but that's good. Wait to see what comes.
Yeah.
Moving on to your novel, Big Trouble in the Paradise. Well, it does seem to pay homage, the title pays homage to Big Trouble in Little China, which I vaguely remember seeing a long time ago. I think, was it Kurt Russell?
Yes.
In the movie?
Yes.
Which is all about it's a caper movie. It's a lot of.
It's a weird movie.
It's a weird movie.
It's not my favorite John Carpenter movie. I mean, no. John Carpenter is one of my favorite directors, and I like to pay homage to those people who influenced me. For example, in Big Trouble in Little Paradise, the main character's name is Wesley, but everyone calls him Wes. You know why?
Is that the character in?
No. Wes Craven.
Wes Craven.
Wes Craven blew my mind away with Friday the 13th and
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, not Friday the 13th, sorry. Nightmare on Elm Street. And Scream. Big Trouble in Little Paradise, I don't think it has anything to do with Big Trouble in Little China. Nothing at all. It's just when I don't write the titles first, I write the story first, and then the title will probably be, I don't know, something that sounds interesting. But when I opened that Microsoft Word document and it was on page 1, the first thing I wrote was in chapter 1. The first thing I wrote was Big Trouble in Little Paradise. And I just said, it's a good title, that sounds good. We'll just keep it there temporarily. And it never changed. And the more I wrote the book, the more the title seemed like number for the book. So it was like, this sounds good, you know?
Well, it's very catchy, and why not? Why not reinvent it? It's kind of appropriate because Sabbath is little, not in terms of size. But yeah, I mean, I kind of get where you're going with that. But what intrigued me about the synopsis, or the short synopsis that I read in your Daily Mail, Malay Mail, was it the Mail? No,
it's the Start.
Sorry, the Start. The idea, the premise of the story is this, the protagonist or the hero has a kind of a traumatic experience whereby a co-worker,
his colleague
dies, and he can't get over it. Now, we're not spoiling anything, and I don't know the answer. We don't know at this point why. But he can't get over it, it affects him, and he decides to leave his job, return to his homeland, come back to South. He ends up in this little kampong, middle of nowhere. And I was thinking, this doesn't sound like a detective story, but that's probably part of the fun, you know, where a detective story can start. Why shouldn't it start in a little kampong? It's not going to always be in the big city, right? So again, this idea that the central character has some kind of, I won't say flaw, but he has some kind of mental issue, some kind of trauma I found fascinating. And that made me want to read the book, frankly, because I think this is something you probably do explore at greater length in the story. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Don't say too much now.
I mean, okay, I'll tell you this much. The murder kicks off just like that. On the first chapter itself, the murder kicks off just like that. That's all I'm gonna say. It's not, the premise is interesting, but that's I won't say it's not a fair way to describe the book. It's just the murder kicks off almost immediately. But that description that was in the start, that was just me trying to explain it as best I can to the reporter interviewing me without giving away too many details. But I can assure you that it's a crime story, it's a murder mystery, and there's also an exploration about our personal faith in ourselves and whether we can be, how do I say without sounding pretentious? Whether we can find a way to get things done. My God, I suck at this. So yeah, it's a character journey of self-healing or so. My God, that sounds so bad.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I do have this upbeat bits in the story. But thinking about it, there must be a long line of stories where you get the protagonist or the hero stressed out. Maybe he's a detective, maybe he's not a detective, but he goes on holiday, trying to get away from it all. But trouble follows him. You know, he thinks he's going on a sabbatical, thinks, go back to California, chill. And then, then the story kicks off and all hell breaks loose. There's a precedent for this kind of story, isn't there? The vacation murder story, or whatever you want to call it. Sounds like something thinking of Agatha Christie now, but I'm sure there are many examples.
Yeah, believe it or not, to sort of answer this question, two of the biggest influences on Big Trouble are Tana French's The Searcher, which is what you just described. Basically, a detective from Chicago buys a house in Ireland, in some Ulu in Ireland, some Ulu kampung in Ireland, just to get away from it all, and ends up facing a mystery there. And the next one, the other book that's really influenced this was Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club, which was one of the best, funniest detective books I've ever read. And it was not even like, it was just old people solving crime. I'm like, I want to write about old people solving crimes. Why didn't I think of old people solving crimes? It's so fun. And then, yeah, so those two books were the spirit that Harvard, or the spirit that were part of Big Trouble in Little Paradise. They like my person.
Yeah. Richard Osman, yeah, I like him. He's a quiz show host.
Yeah, and he's really good.
I picked up that book, and I've not bought it, but I've been so close to getting it. So you've got very good reviews, and you've given an endorsement. Something, yeah, give this guy a try. Fantastic. So is there anything more you can tell us about Big Trouble in Little Paradise? Or would that be, because we don't have much to go on so far. The murder happens early on. Okay. Okay. If you don't,
I mean, need people to buy the book, right?
absolutely.
So, yeah, I can't tell much.
I think we've got a basic backstory. We've got the premise. We have the premise of the story.
What does it say about mystery author can't even properly give a mystery about his work? Terrible. Yeah.
So the novel is not published yet, but it's already won the third Pixie Novo Malaysian novel competition. So let's have a round of applause for that. We've already it's not published yet, but it's going to be published at KL International Book Fair.
Oh no, unfortunately they moved me to July. They moved publication to end late July.
Okay.
So yeah, so end of July only. Like apparently, that's what Amir told me. Amir said end of July, so.
Okay, so
anything
the book fair is earlier, presumably, yeah?
The book fair is.
Well, I'm kind of curious. I might go to the KL book fair. I've never been to a proper book fair.
Been to one either, but yeah.
I'm not sure. You've had to pay your own stuff. I don't think UMS will pay for that, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's looking like a July publication. And where's Are you going to go, will it be a hard, like a soft launch and a hard launch? How's it going to go? You're going to go, you'll be, Nat, you're in KL anyway.
Yes, I will be here.
Yeah. Okay. Now, it seems a bit, impatient for me to ask, but I'm asking already about your next song. Because, there has to be a next song. Right? You can't stop now. You're taken off, you're off the launch pad.
Stop me. Stop.
Yeah, so have you got a second novel in the pipeline? Are you planning a second?
Yes. Okay, so the second novel, what I think I'm allowed to say, I mean, I didn't sign an NDA or anything, but it involves, okay, how do I summarize it? Okay. What do you call medical examiner and news reporter team up to catch Kota Kinabalu super serial killer. That's it. That's all I can say.
And we've got our own serial killer. Nice.
And when I let my colleague read the first chapter because I like to put the murder in the first chapter itself because how else are you going to catch the attention of your reader? So I let my colleague. I feel so bad because she's like a newly made mom, and I let her read the first chapter. And she had nightmares afterwards because I wrote I wrote this right as soon as Pixie announced the winner. I was on a high after that, so I just went and because I sort of had the plan for this book already in my head even before I finished Big Trouble, and and when I wrote it, I just thought to myself, make it bloody, make it scary, and make them uncomfortable as hell. So she was very uncomfortable, and she scolded me, and I had to buy her a caramel macchiato, a venti size iced caramel macchiato to make it up. And yeah, can I tell them the title? The title, I don't know if it's one film.
Probably a working title there.
Yes, the working title is Sugar Baby. So yeah, that's as much as I can say. But
So she has a sweet tooth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sugar addiction. Yeah, we all have.
Yeah, so that's as much as I can say about whatever I'm working on next.
Fantastic. Well, we've got so many books, so little time.
Yeah.
I was thinking you introduced us to Inspector Yunus.
Mm-hmm.
Who seems a little bit of a chump, but I'm not giving up on him. I'm thinking this could be the beginning of something. I don't know whether you thought it could be the beginning of something, but you know how crime writers all have their favorite detective. Philip Marlowe, Sam Spade, Mike Hammer, all these guys, yeah, they're Inspector Morse, Inspector Remus, and they appeared in a series. So have it occurred to you to bring Inspector Yunus into another novel? Or to actually have a character, a detective with his successive novels?
Okay. I don't, because everyone, like writers, especially crime writers, often they have police officers or detectives as their main characters. But example, for Fixie Novo, they have, what's the guy? Roslan Muhammad, no? Has anyone heard of Roslan Muhammad? Hard crowd. Okay, so he has his own detective. Like Pixie already has a police officer detective. I don't want a police officer detective. I want to do something different.
Okay.
My detective is going to be a journalist, an investigative reporter.
Okay.
And he's kicking things off with Sugar Baby. So,
all right.
Yeah, he meant medical examiner.
So he has more freedom because he's not warrior.
Nope.
Right. That's interesting. Okay.
Because I feel like if I were to do a cop, it feels easy. It feels easy, like, oh, here's my badge, answer me this. Oh, I have a warrant, tell me this. If you, that's like, I feel like that's playing on easy mode. I want to play on God mode. I want it to be hard. I want to make my characters work for answers, like really, really like make deals, bribe people, go all out to get an answer. That is the only way. That sounds better, right? That sounds better than pointing a gun and saying, oh, give me some answers. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got to think on their feet, they've got to use different methods, some legitimate, some not legitimate, less legitimate. Okay, I like the sound of it. So I've asked this, I think you may have already asked this, but I'll ask it again. Do you plan to experiment with other genres such as, I don't know, I mean, I know you love crime, you love murder and suspense, but what about sci-fi? Could you mix genres? Would you rule out, say, having a criminal detective story set on a space station or? Oh, I like the sound of that. Space detectives.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be sci-fi. I'm just thinking, haven't
Oh,
you
like
thought of
outside.
any other genres?
I'm bad at writing sci-fi. I'm really, yeah, it's hard. And like, if you realize sci-fi authors are like, they just dump you in this zone where like, wait, what the fuck is a, so what is, I'm sorry, what is a warp drive? What the heck is this? What the heck is that? You're like, you're very confused. And sci-fi is not really my first choice of what I would buy. I don't mind fantasy either, but I really can't think like me reading fantasy is always like European, like George R. R. Martin, those kind of fantasy. So I can't really, if I probably end up writing something that does not work for me, I guess I wouldn't like it, even I wouldn't agree with it. Yeah, too Western. So that's what happens.
But I guess you wouldn't rule anything out at this point, because you're still only 29. Hey, you've got a long, hopefully a long right career. Okay. Why, you know, you might find that sci-fi is your bag. You know, in 10 years.
I'd be as confusing as all the other sci-fi writers.
Yeah, I like sci-fi, but it's sci-fi and sci-fi. It's like, you know, there's so many subgenres within sci-fi. So, yeah. It doesn't have to be really, that really intellectual scientific sci-fi. I can't cope with.
Yeah, the other science.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep up with the science. You feel like you're reading a thesis and some of them. But, well, I hope you will keep your options open. I'm sure you will. So can we just talk a little bit? I'm sure those of us who maybe have pretensions of you guys maybe want to write your own stories or your own novel. It's always good to know what another writer's process is, how they actually go about writing. So I know you have a day job. So like probably 90% of writers have to have a day job because it's very hard to support yourself and be writing sadly. So how do you juggle the two? I mean, do you have let's think about your routine. If you want to write, do you do it do you have a set time of day? Do you set aside a certain chunk of time, like your annual leave? I don't know, how do you do it?
Last year, the process, writing Big Trouble was in and out, in and out. It was never like, okay, it wasn't a daily thing where every day I'd spend X amount of time writing, working on it. And then a former colleague of mine, she had to do her thesis. She was doing her master's, so she was writing a thesis, and then she asked me to come and spend time together lah. So I said, yeah, I'm writing a book. So why don't I just go at least we can both push each other to finish whatever amount of work we had. And my goal used to be 2,000 words a day, at least 2,000 words. If not, 1,005 is fine. It's all right. And yeah, I would write, and but that was because I was with a friend and she was always pushing me to don't give up, just keep on writing. I tell her the thesis isn't that hard, even though I don't know what a master thesis is. I just say, it's okay, you can do it. So yeah, that was the writing process last year. Somehow I still took too long to write it. So it's a bit different now. Now these days I just like, I sit down and I'm just like, because I don't like, I don't not just write on a laptop. I have a notebook on me. Normally it's in my bag. When I have an idea or when I feel like, oh, this is a cool scene, I just write it down. Or when I don't have my laptop on me, I just write it down. I just write it in point form. It wouldn't necessarily make sense until I sit down in front of my laptop and I start writing it. Then probably it will make sense then. So does that answer the question?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Do you like to write in the morning or the evening, or does it? It's not like that. It could be any time of day.
There was one time, I think it was during Raya break back in KL. It was public holiday. I think I wrote from like 3 in the morning until like 6 in the morning because I don't know, I'm terrible sleeping schedule. So I just like, I have free time now. I'll just write. I got nothing better to do, so I'll just write. Yeah. So there's no fixed time for me to write. It's like when I have an idea or when I feel like I got something good here, or just for me, it's like I have to write because if I don't write, what else am I going to do? So yeah, there's no set time. I don't have a certain rule. I just sit down and write. And actually, I do have one. Have a pillow nearby to scream into when you have writer's block. That's the only thing that's the only set rule, fixed rule I have. You can't do it in Starbucks at least.
Some people say that you could write a job which doesn't tax you too much mentally or creatively, so that you can save your creative juices for your real writing. You think that's? I mean, I had a friend who was a security guard. And another, when I was a student, the careers advisor at school said, if you want to be a writer, be a fireman. Because they have lots of spare time waiting for the fire or waiting for the call to come. There's a cat in a tree. You need to rescue it. So you find that's an issue, you find it. Well, sorry, what is your definition?
Okay, so I work as a technical writer and a compliance officer for a company called QDs. Has anyone heard about QDs? Oh God, QDs. QD. It's a. Imagine if I said I work for Astro. So QDs is a franchisor of kindergartens. They have about 200 plus kindergartens across Malaysia. And I am in charge of writing manuals for the company, or the instruction manuals on how to do certain things, how to run trainings, etc., etc. And I also have the compliance part where I come and visit the center and look through the center to make sure that it's all following the standards set by the franchisor. QDs are the company itself. So that's my job. Yeah. And I don't think it taxes my creativity, because sometimes when it looks like I'm thinking hard about something, I'm just probably thinking about a story or some plot line I haven't decided yet.
Yeah. Technical writing is a different part of the brain.
It's boring.
Yeah, it can be quite boring.
Yeah.
It's just a question of getting the grammar right, fixing everything out. But the creative space in your brain is still.
Yeah, it's still around.
Not interfered with. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I think we've reached that time where we need to throw the questions out to you guys. And I'm hoping that one or two of you have a question that you would like to ask, either about the short stories that you've read, or about writing process, or about the forthcoming novel, although no, I might not answer that. So the floor is yours. You can ask whatever you like. Seth, can I have that from you? There are thanks.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, I think we're gonna have to do some jiggering.
Do you want this? This one is wireless.
Right, so we'll use this as the rotating microphone. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Mhm.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So how many it's one time you get?
Okay, so the editing, when they sent the manuscript back to me after they had their editor proofread it, the time it took, right, the time it took to, it wasn't that, it was about a month, about 1 month. And then I got back to them almost in about 2-3 weeks. I did my own, I edited what they've edited, like there were parts I think they didn't understand. And then so that was 3 weeks at the most, like, it's not that long, like,
So we thought that it could be 6 or normal for you.
Out of 6, I don't even know which one's good. If it's 6, even 1 is, I mean, I wouldn't say I write fast. It's just that I have those moments where something just pops in me, like a stroke. I mean, like, oh no, this was terrible. Like, it's something just pops in my head, like an idea, and I need to get it down, and I write. So sometimes you just fill up page so quickly, and before you know it, it's like, yeah, I wrote too much, way too much. Yeah.